welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better guitar players. My name's Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at 5 levels of rhythm guitar playing. So we're going to take a really simple chord progression. It's a bar of A, a bar of E, a bar of F sharp minor, and then a bar of D. And we're going to go over that 5 times, each time adding a level of complexity and technical difficulty. We're going to start with open chords and kind of build up from there. So the way the lesson's going to work is you're going to see me do that over a backing track. And then we'll come back on the other side and I'll show you all the little ideas and everything I'm doing. And then at the end of the video, we'll also talk about the chord progression a little bit as well, because it's one of probably the most common chord progressions that we're going to come across to play. Okay, so here's the example. Okay, so that was the example there, and what we'll do now is I will take you through all of those ideas and everything and show you everything kind of bar by bar. Before we do, I should say there is a tab available for today's lesson. If you'd like a copy of the tab, send me an email and my details are in the description below, but ask for 5 levels of rhythm guitar playing. And next time I'm online, I'll simply email the tab back to you free of charge. Tab's paid for by the Patreon supporters, so massive thank you to the Patreon supporters who keep the channel running, and as thanks they get some extra lessons and things as well. Okay, right, so our chord progression, as I said before, it's a bar of A, a bar of E, bar of F sharp minor, and then a bar of D. And first time through, the first level is we're simply playing open chords. So just regular chords. If you're watching my channel, we normally do stuff that's a bit more technically difficult than this, so I'm assuming you've kind of got open chords down, but they're just really simple. An A, that was an A to an E, and then I'm doing an F sharp minor like this, but you could do it like with the full bar, and then a D chord. So that's level 1, that's kind of where we all start. For me personally, when I was starting, just being able to play those open chords, even without the F sharp minor, just that simple A, E and D, that took me about 6 months to be able to work up the finger dexterity to be able to do that. The F sharp minor took me a little bit longer. Okay, so that was level 1, that's kind of where we all start. Level 2 then, we move into bar chords and we get this kind of thing happening. I'm using this for my A, this for my E, F sharp minor, and D. If you're not familiar with those, as I say, ask for the tab and all the details are in there so you can get the actual fingerings properly. But the interesting thing with this one is I'm not playing all 6 strings. I'm not doing this. Okay, I'm very deliberately not doing that. When I play bar chords, I'm playing bits of the chord. I've covered this on the channel before, so I'm going to go over this quite quickly. But the way I think about it usually is I'm thinking, what's the kick drum doing? And what's the snare drum doing? And what the kick drum's doing, I'm going to do on the low strings, and what the snare drum's doing, I'm doing on the high. So if we think of like kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, it go like this. Okay, or wherever the rhythm is that you happen to be playing over. I think on this one, I was hitting on the beat and then doing some offbeat stuff. So it was kind of like a... And what I'm doing is in between, to get the kind of the chicka chicka noise, that kind of noise, I'm literally just with my left hand, just easing off slightly in order to kind of get that percussive noise and just keeping everything nice and steady with my right hand. Okay, so the only other thing to say really about bar chords is if you're struggling with them, take a little encouragement, because I struggled with them for the longest time. I think out of everything I've ever learned on guitar, they were probably the thing that I found the hardest, and the technique, or whatever we want to call it, that I honestly thought at times, I'm never going to get this. My fingers just can't do this. But I stuck with it, and then eventually one day it kind of clicked into place, and then I've never thought about it ever since. It's just dead easy now. So if you're struggling with them, just stick with it. Sooner or later, your fingers will get there. Okay, so that was like level 1 and 2. Then we get onto the more kind of the interesting shapes. So the first thing we want to do is triads. So if we think of that A bar chord there, but we only play the D, G and B string, and let them, I play this kind of thing. Okay, but I'm not holding it like that because I don't want to hold the whole bar. What I'm doing is I'm just holding the notes on those particular strings. So you can see on that camera, that's what my particular fingering is doing. So I'm just playing those 3 strings. The other strings, I'm just using the under parts of my thumb and finger and things to mute those other strings. But I'm playing this figure here. Okay, dead easy. And I'm letting them ring out. Then I'm moving from an A to an E, but I'm not playing this E up here. Although I could. What I'm doing is I'm moving down to this E here. Now, if you think of like your C chord here, it's the regular open C chord, but we bar it all the way up here, that's an E. Same as like if we just bar in any other chord, but this time I'm taking the C shape and doing it there. Now, nobody ever plays that. Well, not a lot of people play that because that's quite a more tricky one because you've got to kind of stretch your little finger over. So don't think about that. Just think about the, that's kind of the shape where it comes from. But what we're actually playing is we're only playing the D, G and B string. So we end up with, I hope you can see it on this camera here, this little figure on the fretboard, and I'll put the tab on screen as well so you can see it, but it basically goes like this. Okay, and I'm basically just picking down and then back up again. Okay, and then our F sharp minor, same again, but regular kind of F sharp minor chord, but this time again just the D, G and B string. Okay, hope you can see that on the camera okay. Okay, and then the D is basically the same shape as the E, but we're now down 2 frets. Okay, so level 3, I'll just play through it all together. It goes like this. Okay, so that's level 3. Level 4 now takes that and starts to embellish it somewhat. So if we think of back at our A triad shape, but what we can do is the 7th fret of the G string brings in, if we do my little finger here, that'll bring in like an A sus4 shape. Okay, so there's the A, and here's the A sus4. A sus4. In this case, I'm hammering on and pulling off with my ring finger. That's the little figure I'm playing for the A. Okay, then we go down to the E, and the E then takes that shape again. But here, I can hammer on from 4 to 6 on the G string while letting the B string ring out. So you get that little figure there. I'm basically using that idea. I think in the example I played, nice and slow. And the important thing with this kind of level 4 is with as much as possible we're letting things ring out. Okay, so that was over the E chord. Then we moved down to the F sharp minor, and I think I played this. Okay, so we start with the hammer on, 2 to 4 on the D string, and then just pick the rest of the chord on the G and B string. Okay, so that's the first part, and then we do a hammer on 2 to 4 on the the G string before coming back to 2. So nice and slow we get this, and even slower. Because that F sharp minor shape there, we can basically bring in box position 1 of the of F sharp minor. We can kind of see that over that chord, and basically any of those F sharp minor pentatonic notes we can kind of add in there to embellish. Okay, but in this case, for the example, I just did this. Okay, and then we're on to the D chord, and the D chord, again, similar to that E chord, we've got this nice little hammer on here. So I think I did a hammer on, pull off, and then hold the shape down and just pick the notes. Nice and slow. Hammering on 2 to 4 on the G string while letting the B string ring out. And then 4, 2, 3 on the strings. Okay, so that was then level 4, and then what we do is go level 5, and basically level 5 takes that embellishing idea and just kind of goes a little nuts with it and puts in as much as I can. So for the A, we go back to this triad position, and now I'm going to use my little finger to do the accents or the embellishments. We're going to start on the B string, because we can add this note here, 7th fret. Okay, so I think we're actually played was this. Okay, I'll do it nice and slow. So while I'm doing this, watch the difference between what my fingers are doing here and what my picking hand's doing, because my fretting hand is hardly moving at all. Everything's kind of in the picking. So just watch this again so you can kind of see. It sounds like there's a lot going on, but it's all with the pick, very little going on with the fretting hand. Okay, so, and again, letting that ring out as much as possible. So that's what I did over the A. Then over the D, again, we start with the hammer on. But this time I'm actually using a slide from 5 up to 7 and back on the B string. So I'll do that nice and slow. And again, nice and slow. Okay, so that's over the E chord. Then we go to the F sharp minor. And as I said before, for the F sharp minor, we can actually just pull out a whole load of F sharp minor pentatonic, and it sounds like really nice. So I think I played a run like this. Okay, nice and slow. Okay, and what I'm doing there, I'm sliding box position 1, F sharp minor pentatonic into 2 and back. And because that F sharp minor pentatonic scale has got so many of those chord tones in it, it just sounds like really nice. And then we're up to the D chord, the final chord, And I think I did this. Okay, so again, starting with the hammer on, now in a D position. If this is a hammer on and pull off, and then playing 2 on the G string before sliding up and hitting 7 kind of 3 times. Up here at the 7th fret on the B and G string. So that bit goes like this. Because if we think of that D bar chord there, those 2 notes on the 7th fret are in there. So we're effectively coming from this chord to this chord. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So that's the 5 levels. I will use all of those at different points in different songs, depending on what the song needs. It's not that one level, because it's more technically difficult, is better than another level. I use open chords all the time. I use those an awful lot. I use bar chords an awful lot. I use triads an awful lot. And just depends what's going on, what else is going on in the song. Depends on what I like, how much embellishments and stuff I'm likely to add, and how much kind of sound I've got to fill, and where I fit in the mix and all those kind of things. Personally, that level 4, where you just get little bits of embellishments here and there, that's my comfort zone. That's what I like doing the most. Okay, so very quickly talk about this chord progression. It's one of the most common chord progressions, certainly since about the late 1980s. It's probably the most predominant chord progression in pop and rock. Loads and loads and ballads and all kinds of things. In fact, if you ever Google like 4-chord songs, you come up with hundreds, which are basically based on this idea. Now, they might all be in different keys, but what we've got is the 1 chord followed by the 5 chord, followed by the minor 6, followed by the 4 chord. And so in A, that is A being the 1, and then 5 away from A, B, C sharp, D, E, we get an E, and then 6 is an F sharp, is an F sharp, which is a minor chord, and then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a D. That's how we work these things out. So the chord progression is 1, 5, 6, 4 in the key of A, but we could do that in a different key. If we did a 1, 6, 5, 4 in the key of a 1, 5, 6, 4 in the key of C, for example, C would be our 1 chord, G would be our 2 chord, our 5 chord, A minor would be our minor 6, and then F would be our 4. Okay, so often when we talk about chord progressions, we don't talk about the individual names. We don't say like it's an A to an E to an F sharp minor to a D. Usually we just go, it's a 1, 5, 6, 4. And it's that kind of chord progression. So that's where those names and numbers and things come from. This I've done in A, but most of these techniques you can all those techniques really, you can move up and down the neck, maybe not the open chords, but all the others you can move up and down the neck so you can play them in different keys. But that's how that works. Okay, I've talked far too much. Yes, tab available. There's a backing track also available. See description below. Big thanks to Patreon supporters. If you've got this far all the way through, and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And leave me a comment. Let me know somebody made it all the way to the end. All right, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.